Well, welcome back to the group, everybody. If you're still sticking with it, congratulations. You are in week number 12 of Unstoppable as we journey through the history of the church from the book of Acts. One of the wonderful benefits of spending so much time in one section of the scriptures is that we can, in this case, see how the church began, what kinds of things the people did to grow personally, how did the church continue to grow, and then today we're going to do an overview of how did the church handle opposition, or specifically what we would call persecution. So I want to give you a definition that I formulated, and we can wrap our minds around this idea that persecution is opposition experienced because of one's identification with Jesus. That includes ridicule, ostracism, imprisonment, torture, and possibly execution. Persecution is what happens when there's a clash of two irreconcilable value systems. Now, throughout the book of Acts and the early church, you'll see that the followers of Jesus held on to Jesus as the only means of salvation and the only way to connect back to God the Father. And when you start holding up the value of a truth or righteousness or, hey, there's a better way to live, not everybody is super excited about that. So as the church is growing and gaining momentum, all kinds of people and groups and even government organizations tried to stop the church. Now, there are many instances recorded in the book of Acts that include persecution, and if you follow them, you will even see that there's an ever-increasing threat level, I guess. It begins with verbal attacks, and then we have an instance of physical attacks, and then imprisonment of a few people to the execution of one. That eventually becomes an all-out attack on the entire church. And every time there is a persecution in any of its forms, it will do one of two things. It will either drive us away from Jesus, and we say, you know, this is just too difficult, this is not what I signed up for, or that persecution will drive us to Jesus, where we rely on Him for strength and courage and prayer. Now, on the practical side, for many of us, what we might be experiencing is what I would call a relational or a cultural opposition. And some of you have even heard it from your family because they don't understand what you've found. Like, they question you, right? They ridicule you, they joke about you, and think that maybe you've even joined a cult. Some of us at work are at times left out because we choose not to participate in the conversation in the break room because it's sexist or racist or just straight gossip. People maybe make jokes about you, and if it gets severe, you might be passed over for a promotion. And it's the same in school or a sports league or in your cul-de-sac. That if you value things that are true and right and you stand up for Jesus, you should expect to be in some form mistreated and potentially persecuted. Now, while you may be experiencing some pushback in your life, and I would never make light of any of that, our brothers and sisters in the church around the world are experiencing what I would classify as very high or extreme levels of persecution. It's estimated that over 350 million Christians are living in places where they experience a high level of persecution. Matter of fact, every day, 13 Christians worldwide are killed because of their faith. Every day, 12 churches or Christian buildings are attacked. Every day, 12 Christians are unjustly arrested or imprisoned, and another 5 are abducted. What's happening to Christians around the world should alarm and even outrage everyone, not just church people, but everyone, because it is first and foremost a human rights issue. But it should actually drive the followers of Jesus to prayer because these are brothers and sisters in the family of God. Now, I'm not going to put a nice tidy bow on this one. You have plenty of things to discuss in your group, but I do think I will leave you with one, what I hope will be an encouraging word, and it comes from Jesus, His most famous sermon in Matthew chapter 5, where He says, "You are blessed when you're insulted and persecuted, and people say all kinds of things about you that are not true." Now, that doesn't really sound like a blessed life to me, but what Jesus does is make a direct connection between how we respond to those things in this life with what we can expect to receive in the next life. In other words, and this will be my final thought, the payoff is an unshakable security, a place in the kingdom of heaven in which you cannot be harmed.